What's up, everyone, and welcome to Variant the Podcast. As you could see, it's me and Tim once again, but we have a special guest.
That's right.
Jeff, the Golden Age Guru, who you've probably seen on our channel several times by now. He's done the history of the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, and we might be doing another age here soon with you.
Couple more.
Yeah, there we go. Mm-hmm. So welcome, Jeff. Welcome.
Thank you. Man, super excited to be here, guys, and on a real podcast format instead of just a historical
Yes, that's right.
recollection. So I'm excited because, like we were saying, Copper Age is coming.
Copper Age is coming.
And I'm excited to talk to you guys about some old books.
Yeah, man, you have a lot going on. So Jeff, obviously, he's always busy because he's got his hands neck deep.
He's the Golden Age.
His hands neck deep? Well, he's neck deep.
His hands.
How do you have your hands neck deep in anything?
Neck deep in hands?
I don't know, but I'd be willing to see somebody try.
What I imagine him like Scrooge McDuck in the sense that his nickname is the Golden Age Guru.
Yeah,
so he's dipping in, in and out.
That's what I meant, really. Yeah, I meant that right from the start. But he's neck deep in Golden Age comics every day. But he's all over social media. He also works a lot with our boy Comic Tom, who you guys also seen on the channel. They've done the shows together.
That guy's all right. He's okay.
He's all right. He'll be on here pretty soon. Also, we got some stuff in the works with Tom, so you guys can be on the lookout for that. But today, we're going to be talking about one of the craziest stories I have heard, and I haven't even heard most of it yet. No. So Jeff is going to be getting into this new. What do we call the designation?
Provenance.
Provenance.
Not a pedigree. Provenance.
He has his own provenance.
You're so sophisticated.
From the CGC.
I feel that way.
But the story behind how he came on this massive collection of comics that spans multiple decades and ages, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking from the early 40s to 2022. I mean,
crazy.
And just a little spoilers, 350,000 books. So just the concept of acquiring that and storing it, processing it. I mean, it's a wild story.
We're going to get into it, but I kind of want to tease it up front here. So you've only gone through 50% of the collection, and it's possible, not saying there is, but it is possible that there could be a Superman 1 in there. There could be a Detective 27 in there.
There's nothing Arris wants more in this world.
If I get that text from you one day, I just want it to be a picture. You don't say anything. It's just a picture of that book and I'll know.
Yeah.
And I'll know, and then I'll cry for you.
And I'll know because I'll just see Arris run by my office screaming, "It's an omen!" as he runs out the building with his hands in the air.
I'll be like, he did it!
He's done it!
Yeah.
But I guess let's start, before we dive into the big story, let's start with, how did you get into Golden Age comics? Because that's your thing, the Golden Age Guru.
Can we talk about before? Yes, answer that. But I have to.
Answer that.
I have to say, this Mo Freaker, which we're probably going to be running B-roll for this, pulled up in a Golden Age Tesla, a wrapped Tesla with Marvel Comics, Human Torch, Android on one side, the Submariner on the other side, and then it says the Golden Age 1939 Marvel Comics on the windshield. You didn't tell me. Yeah. I was like, I think Tim briefly said he's coming in a wrapped car. And I go,
yeah,
what?
I knew it was coming.
And I go out our studio. I'm like,
it was the only way for him to roll up.
I'm like, of course Jeff is rolling up in a freaking Golden Age Tesla, hence Golden Age Guru.
With the torch on one side. And what's on the other side?
Submariner.
The Submariner.
Freaking.
And, just to quote Mandalorian, this is the way.
It is, in fact, the way.
All right. So, okay, I can't take credit. I mean, we're in the Dallas area, and I have a homeboy who lives out here, and he has two crazy wrapped cars. One of them, actually, excuse me, this one's a wrapped Tesla, you guys are probably saying.
Yep.
But the other one is this airbrushed Avengers Captain America Corvette. It's just
that's crazy.
I was like, which one do I take? I was like, we're doing Golden Age.
Did he give you the option?
He let me, yes, he gave me the option. Shout out to Stray Flexing on Instagram, by the way, which he got it wrapped somewhere out here. I don't know.
That's awesome.
We'll drop his handle in the description so you guys can check him out.
Who also loves Golden Age, by the way. Yeah. Which
is that also his main thing? Is Golden Age?
Yes.
I would hope so. He got a car wrapped.
Oh yeah, he loves it. I'm so jealous. I mean, driving is fun when you're on the highway, and you're in this superhuman of a vehicle. Yeah, because you have a Tesla. It's just go, and then you have all of a sudden you're driving in your sedan, and you see Submariner, Human Torch flaming by you on the highway.
And there's no doubt at that point what that person does for a living.
Yeah, 100%.
You're pretty much knowing what's going on.
Yes.
But yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit about, or at least the audience, because we know. But tell the audience a little bit, how did you get into Golden Age comics specifically?
Yeah, I mean, just to quickly touch, Golden Age is an era in the comic book world, which is about, let's just say, just to keep it simple, about 1936 to about 1955. So it's a pretty specific time frame where you had the birth of comic books, really, the birth of Superman. And so for me, I started like deep collecting the comics when I was like 9 or 10 years old. Like I got a price guide. Yeah, I was That's right nuts. Away into the old stuff because I had purchased a price guide at that time, which gives you lots of information of comics and all the prices. And I had an amazing comic shop. I lived in the Hollywood area at the time, which was like late 80s. And I had Golden Apple comic books on Melrose, which was an amazing comic shop.
Still is.
Yeah, bigger than life if you're a young kid and you're walking in there. And I remember seeing like Iron Man 1 and Amazing Spider-Man 129, which is like first Punisher and a great Iron Man cover. And I remember just like completely disregarding anything that's just coming out and looking at those things up on the wall because they're on the wall. And you're like, whoa, those must be special.
The shelf behind the counter.
Wall books, bro.
Exactly, wall books. And I was like, damn, that's a thing. And I instantly started just researching that stuff as a kid, and there was no internet at the time, just to date myself here even more so. and heck, dial-up wasn't even around yet.
I saw RoboCop in theaters.
Yeah. Exactly. And so I remember hustling comic books as a kid at my junior high school out there. And I got suspended because I was selling comic books and garbage pail kids at the time.
Dude, that's hilarious.
Oh,
dude,
man.
You were hustling in high school?
I was running a comic business in my...
He had an underground comics.
I did.
Going.
So I was into it heavy and then collected all through the years after that, up through high school. And then you go to college and you got to take a break. You have no freaking money. Okay. And then after college, I started to try some career stuff here and there and then landed in a position and started to make some money. And comic books were still in my mind. And I went online and saw that there was these auction houses selling comics at auction. So I bought a lot. So like 7 comics or 8 comics is a lot. And they came in and then I resold those and I made money. I was like, oh my God, I can make money selling comic books. So this was like 20 years ago now.
Accidentally flipped them?
Yeah, I just flipped them just to see.
Okay.
You know, it's like, oh, I got a good deal. I think I can make some money.
I think this is the part of like the biopic where it's like the music starts to roll and the person's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Money signs in their eyes.
I'm just picturing Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio. I was like, wait, there's money to be made here.
I was sitting in my 1-bedroom apartment, okay, and like at this window at this whatever cheap desk I can afford with this computer, you know, and just like clicking and finding the site and like, wow, that worked. And so then I started to get in heavy. So when I want to do something, I like jump all in, ask questions later, experience it, whatever. So I went on Craigslist when it was just much easier to get stuff and started looking for collections right away. And right away I bought this big collection in my area. And I was dating my future wife at the time, and she was like on board helping me. And I know when I talk to her now, she's like, I didn't know what this guy was going to be doing with comic books. Okay, but whatever. You know, she was just like, comics, that's your thing? Okay, I support you.
You're not a bum rock.
And so she was there from that.
You're going to support me with spandex?
Yeah.
Men in spandex?
Exactly. And chrome covers.
What year was this?
This was 2004 or 5, somewhere around there. 4 or 5, yeah.
So this is like also just the perfect time for you to roll into
3, 4, 5, somewhere around there. So I think it was like 20 years ago. It was like 2003.
Yeah.
2004.
Dude,
so.
and this is right before like what we would consider like the new golden age of comic dumb.
Before the MCU really popped off.
Before comics really went to like this new stratosphere in popular culture, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was still a completely different thing than it is now. Like you said, a lot has changed. Comics were still popular, but they weren't, you know, you still didn't show yourself in cosplay and think that you're gonna not feel like a douche or a nerd or like a geek, or you're gonna get beat up when you left.
Yeah, like someone
convention.
wasn't gonna call the cops.
Yeah, and when your mom dropped you off in cosplay, you felt like like a dirty person doing it. Now it's like, have fun, kid. You know what I mean? It's
Your grandma didn't know who Iron Man was back then. Now it's like everyone knows.
Yeah, so it was a different time, and that quickly changed. But I was slinging like dollar books for the most part, just trying to sell stuff and learn and doing conventions in my area.
But were you still, even at that time, you were focused on older books still?
I wanted to be, but at that time I didn't.
Right. The cash wasn't there.
Yeah, the cash wasn't there. I was still trying to figure out again. I mean, that was like my hopes when I was younger, and that did well for me. I still collected, and I still had my personal collection.
So was there a turning point?
Yeah, the turning point was when I was doing conventions and watching all these other people like selling quality stuff versus quantity, and their con was less stressful. And I was by myself doing these conventions with like 65, 70 long boxes, lugging them in a convention all the time. Yeah. And it was just so much work. And I was like, I need to change this up. I need to like work more on the quality. And so I slowly transitioned and started to educate myself. But as you start continue going into a deeper hole of like comics, you get exposed to more stuff. You get exposed to more titles, you get exposed to more history, you go further back. And I started to find books that were older. And there is a reference material called the Gerber Photo Journals. And so they're amazing coffee table books. I really recommend that for anybody, whether you collect modern books or any genre. They're just great picture books. Yeah. So Ernie Gerber started compiling from 1985 to like 1989. He went around the country finding every Golden Age book that he could and put it into a picture format and give it a scarcity rarity level.
That's awesome.
That he did from his just exposure. So that was the only way you knew what was out there at the time, up until the internet, really.
Right.
So from about late 80s to
AOL didn't even exist yet.
Yeah. So like exactly. So he went around and did that. God bless him. So I remember having one and just highlighting all the books I hope to have one day.
Wow.
Okay. And that was great because I still have that somewhere.
Your dream board.
Yes, it was. It was my vision board. And, I've got to go back and see what did I acquire since, because I have like another copy that I just use. And so that was a great tool to use and learn from, because now you're like, oh, this is out there. Okay. Because you don't know anything about Golden Age unless it's introduced to you or you're exposed to it. Because how else? It's so rare and difficult to see.
It's outside the pop culture conversation.
Yeah, everybody knows Spider-Man and Iron Man and you name it, Thor, and all these characters, and you know all their first appearances and the issues they're in. But you go back just 30 years. I mean, that's a lot of comic history from there, from like 1938 to 62.
Yes.
A lot of other stuff happened. A lot of other characters showed up and other appearances, that you'll never hear of. Catman is another great character. Bullet Man. I mean, there's all these Bullet Man, Blonde Phantom, and
Shining Knight. I'm on the Shining Knight train.
Shining Knight.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, there's all kinds of great characters that are lost in history you'll never see, but the books are extremely scarce and coveted by a certain group of people who understand that.
Like why it's valuable, why it's important. Because a lot of those characters also help inspire the ones that we love today, like the Spider-Mans, the Thors, and stuff like that.
100%. And the covers you love. You'll see covers and you'll be like, oh, I love this cover. Well, you didn't know, but that's an homage to another cover 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or inspired by. And even then before the comic books, you had pulps. Those inspired even other
things. Phantom Shadow.
It's a whole nother layer to get down. So it's just time. It literally took time, interest, exposure. Okay. And then eventually it became such a passion that I was like, I was gobbling up anywhere I can, either from the Gerber journals or online chat platforms, and watching private sales, which is a whole nother thing because this stuff gets traded so rarely. You need to know the value of it. So maybe it's sold publicly 5 years ago for $400. Well, you just heard of a private sale because you just happened to monitor it on chat forums or know people, and it went for $4,000. Okay. But the person who owns it at a convention or anywhere has no idea.
Right. They don't know what the actual value is.
Yeah. So there was a lot of opportunity there to possibly find something in the wild.
Yeah.
And capitalize on that.
As long as you have the knowledge to know the difference and the gap.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, the biggest problem for me is that I collect too. So like, that's been my biggest issue. Like I could probably be one of the, if I really top 10 dealers in the freaking country, I could probably have been, if not the world, if I didn't collect. Like if I focused only on like acquiring and taking that capital and turning and burning, yes, but it's hard. Like,
because you don't want to turn them in.
No, I know it's just stuff to a lot of people, but like sometimes stuff grabs you or attracts you too much, and it's hard to let go of it. And like, I won't look at these books for a long period of time, and I'll go through the box like, oh yeah. You just see it again, and you're like, oh wow, yeah, I like this, I like this. And maybe at some point you're like, okay, I can let this one go to let something else in.
I was going to say, I do that with, stuff that I collect a lot of like action figure statues and comics, but I'm really into as far as collecting like action figures and stuff. But I'll do that too, where like you say, you put it away for so long or it's just on a shelf, you've had it for years and you're like, really like it, but like now I kind of want to swap it out for something else I want. Or it's like, you just learn to like, you kind of almost let the hobby fund itself, where you're kind of just trading out what you've already invested. So you're not really putting more in. Do you find yourself doing that a lot?
I find myself doing that a lot, but I know it's a lie. It's not really funding itself. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it funds itself, but you justify it. You find ways to justify it selfishly, but not intentionally in a weird way.
Yeah.
Maybe intentionally. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a moral sometimes battle. But luckily I sell enough books and do really well where I can keep it more guilt-free than not. So, but every once in a while you're like, you justify switching on a piece, but you're like, well, I kind of justified switching on that piece 3 pieces ago. And now it's just finally now going. So you're like, well,
I mean, it's a lot like, this is like a modern art form, right? This is one of our modern art forms. And so when you're dealing with older pieces like that, it's the same as people who are art collectors. Just like, the type of art, like, oh, I got a Picasso, I got a this, I got a that. And they are the same. They're the exact same way. They will collect and they'll sell and they'll trade and things like that. But there's just some pieces they don't want to let go of because they appreciate the actual work itself. You're not just like a seller. You're an actual lover of the art.
Yeah. And it's like, if I like one book, okay, I'm not a completist, thank God, which just means that you want a full run of like, I could care less about individual issues. I just like certain books, certain covers. And if I like it in one, I will like it in 5 or 6. So like I have duplicates of a lot of books because I just like the book. Like I can't find something or I get another one, I'm like, oh, I still love this. I'm okay with having 2 of it. Yeah. Like why wouldn't I? If I love it and it's that great of a book, then I might as well have 2 great books.
I get that.
Like, why not? Sometimes you're not always going to find what you like or whatever, but something ends up and you're like, oh, I want to keep a piece. And so I'll keep it. It's
also kind of comforting having 2 in a weird way, right? Because it's like
if one burns to the ground,
it's like it's kind of weird, like subconscious
together.
It's kind of weird subconsciously.
One needs a friend.
Because I know it was like when you with collectibles and stuff, you hold like one to open, one to play with, right? So it's that. But with comic books, it's like, would you go on the other end? It's like, I'm going to grade this one, and then I want a raw one just so I can flip through it and look at the actual art.
No.
Okay.
No, you're an idiot.
I just like it anyway. Like I have copies that are like, depending on how I get it. Like if I got it in graded, I'll keep it graded.
Okay.
If I got it in raw, I'll keep it raw. Raw is in not graded. Okay. Right. And it just sits there. Like my personal collection, I don't feel like I need to get it graded because it's for me. I'm not looking to move it, and it's extra money out that what for? I'm not trying to, now, does that make sense if I ever in a pinch where I need to liquidate it and sell it? Like to have it not have it graded? No, but that's okay. It takes up way more room. If I was to and my personal collection is not huge. It's maybe like 400 books, give or take. But if everyone was graded, that's a lot of space. Right now it sits in like 4 boxes or something, 5 boxes, give or take.
Which is very manageable.
Yeah. I actually thought your PC would have been a lot bigger than 400 books.
No, it's not. I just like what I like.
Okay.
And, and which isn't just Golden Age. My second favorite time frame is Bronze Age.
Yeah.
I like that over Silver Age.
Now, is there something as far as like when, because you just said you have very specific books that you just like. Is there something particular about the books that draw your eye? Do you have a specific look that you kind of gravitate towards?
I'm because I've been around the book so much and I'm exposed to so many and I'm always out there looking for collections, things pop up. I obviously want the stuff that's the most scarce, most in demand, and the one that most people want. So there is a good feeling to know that you have something that somebody else wants.
Yeah.
Okay.
I totally get that.
Yeah,
I totally get that with collecting.
Yeah, you're like, and it's not like you're teasing Neener or something like that.
It just feels good.
But it just feels good. Like I have a book that's like one of the rarest book in all of comic books.
Right.
Okay. And I just happened to get it on eBay and maybe I paid up for it at the time, but it allegedly came from the original person who created that comic book.
Yeah.
Like dad, and whose daughter was selling it on eBay. And I was like, I just have to have this book. I got to get it. So I made and pushed on it off of eBay to get someone to email me, and we made a deal and I bought it. It's such an obscure, stupid book. It's just a dumb book. It's called Green Giant #1, but it's an extremely rare book. Is it the most expensive book? No.
Is it a tough book?
It's a tough book.
It's a tough book.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
And you
people
know
just
that there's
want it.
people out there that want it. So you just privately, quietly go outside of your front yard and just to the window, suck it.
Yes. Front yard,
In
backyard,
short.
side yard, rooftop, deck, patio, lanai, you name it.
Yeah. It's funny how that works though, like going off that, because I, again, with collecting, I have that too, where there's like,
Going around.
well, there's something you like. It's not necessarily your favorite character, but you like it more because you know it's in demand. So it kind of just feels good, like you said, to have something.
It feels great to have something that somebody else can't
Yes.
get.
And it's also like, I have this thing that if I ever needed to get rid of, I know lots of people are going to want it.
Yeah.
You know?
100%. So, I mean, I just have covers that a lot of collectors like and want, and that one just happens to be a rare one, but they're out there. I luckily dove in early enough before everything truly spiked.
Right. Went nuts.
And went nuts. So I'm ahead of the game of most. I think if you're getting into collecting now, it's obviously tougher,
Yeah.
doable, but like I made this my lifestyle.
Right.
Like, this is what I choose to do.
Mhm.
So I'm, lucky enough to be able to come across it in a manner where it's more, possible without leveraging yourself so financially.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying you don't, because these books are great books, and Golden Age has been consistently performing very well, even in this massive downturn of silver and bronze and copper and everything else. Golden Age has been fantastic. And I think the collecting pool is growing.
Yeah.
I'm meeting a lot of new collectors all the time. And like, I'm gonna pat myself on the back. Like, a lot of them are like, I bought my first Golden Age book because of you, because
That's
of like
awesome,
the
man.
shows we talk about, the content we put out, and just discussing it all, making it palpable. And it's not this big scary thing. You can get
Right.
into Golden Age really freaking inexpensively.
No.
Modern books can be really expensive, copper as well. So, you could buy something for $50, $40, $20. Just get in, check it out, because I'm telling you, once you start dipping your toe in that, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's more fun. I think collecting modern books is so complicated. It's so difficult.
There's a lot more.
I'm like, how do you keep up with this?
Yeah.
Why would you try to keep up with something that changes daily and
Yeah.
every week?
Well, the covers are
so hard.
I had a chance to talk to Rob Liefeld at New York Comic Con. He
Yeah.
brought up a funny thing where he's like, he was talking about sales, but he was trying to make the point to where back then you had the normal cover, one variant cover.
Yeah.
Now you have like freaking 20 variant covers for the same exact book. So to that point, it is extremely complicated, because it's like you'll have a Transformers 1, but there's like 20 different covers. There's the unlockable, there's the UV, there's the 1/100, 1/50, 1/25. And it's just like, how many variant covers?
Yeah, the reality is that the variant covers of comics actually make up most of the market, of the modern market now.
It's crazy.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. I don't quite understand like the path, the long term, what everyone's goal is, just to acquire a book or just collect their favorite artist, which I get. Go do your thing, read the comics, collect your favorite artists. But if it's like something you're trying to do to hustle and all, I don't understand that aspect of it, because to me it just feels like so volatile. Just to repeat myself,
I think it's more about the art now, at least for me personally, and for what I've seen, like with the variant covers, it's more about you like this book, so you just want a really dope cover on that story or issue you like. And I think that's kind of what they're tapping into, because especially where artists are like celebrities right now. So it's like, oh, I want that Ryan Otley, Transformers cover, or I want that Jim Lee Batman cover, and it's just the variant cover because the interior artist is doing the, normal cover. So I think it's kind of just more the art now, where it's because a lot of them, the Virgin covers are the ones that sell
Yeah.
the most now. So I think
Rarity
it's
also plays a big role.
Yeah, it's like a cheaper version, going to what you're saying, like getting like fine art, right? Because it's like most people can't spend like $50K on this, nice piece of art, but you can do like $100, $200 on this really cool Batman cover of your favorite artist, and it's an unlockable cover that's a little rare, so it's cool because it's rarer than the rest. So I think that's kind of a little bit of the mindset.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out in the next 10 years. But like the artwork is crazy good right now.
It really is.
There are some amazing artists. I know some of it's digital and some of it's traditional and it's all over the board. But man, the stuff they're pumping out, it's pretty spectacular in my opinion. Yeah.
So what was the big transition for you of going from I'm getting into the game, I start really figuring out there's this market to be played, to where you went from that to you're playing in the big boy pool.
You're now the golden age guru.
Yeah, you're the golden age guru. And you start finding some bigger collections and where you're dabbling in things like what we're about to get into with the
Was there
Sound.
To that point, was there a significant move or two that enabled you to get to that point? Like, can you recall like these two collections gave me the means to do this?
That's a great question. I've bought so many collections. I don't know if I can recollect any one specifically. This collection, first of all, is like the most extravagant collection I've ever purchased in my life by far. Okay, this is like
the Secret Sound collection, which we're about to get into.
Yeah, the Secret Sound collection. So again, it was a progression, right? And so every time I'm just doing better and better because I'm buying stuff, I'm doing well with it. And maximizing my dollar, putting in the sweat equity, right? Doing conventions, sacrificing, learning, getting, building a bigger pot and pool, and just adding more books that I can like to my wall, basically.
So there was no like necessarily like one or two big breaks. It was a slow build.
Yeah,
over the years.
It was a slow build. So you just buy collections, you get your inventory, you process your inventory, you make it available. And now it's a little bit easier because there's so many avenues. Before it was like conventions were like your only venue.
Right.
You go to do a show or eBay. And I wasn't very good at eBay. I just didn't have the back end and I couldn't monitor the ridiculously amount of stupid questions you're going to get.
Dude, it's so true.
All right.
So true.
I was like, I can't, like, I don't have the mental bandwidth to deal with dumb. Okay. Or not even just dumb, like a more like insulting or like people just, and I get it, but I just didn't want to deal with it.
There's definitely complexities.
It was more, it was just more frustration during my day. So I was like, I just stuck to conventions and did my thing and did well with that. And then just keep going, building, and then build a brand, Golden Age Guru, which was like 4 or 5 years ago, which I really started with Comic Tom 101 because it's like, oh, hey, give yourself a moniker. I was like, okay, I kicked some names around and with my kids and my wife, and eventually just Golden Age Guru was stuck. Right. All right. I was like, okay, this is
good
great.
Name.
Yeah. I used to be Elite Comic Source, and then that name kind of got taken on IG around the same time. And I was like, you know what? Instead of being pissy and annoyed, I'm just going to make a full move over and just change the Golden Age Guru, and been happy with it since. And so, fast forward to last year, November, and where I ended up coming into this collection. And this is the Secret Sound. So to tell you the story on that, if you're ready for it.
Yeah, let's roll it.
Okay.
Well, first of all, we've got 3 pieces from that collection here. So tell us about they're okay. Right. Tell the audience what these particular books are, and then we can kind of work that into the actual story about the collection.
Yeah, this is kind of a sampling of some of the Golden Age books that were in there, and which was one of the reasons I bought this collection immediately. It was just the Golden Age books I saw. I didn't even give a care of what the other stuff was. I was like, okay, these books are here. I'm making an aggressive play for it. Let's go.
Yeah.
So this is Detective Comics 69. Probably my favorite Joker cover, and a lot of people's favorite Joker cover in comics, really. Classic incredible. 2 Guns, Sensation Comics #1 right here. This is the second appearance of Wonder Woman. She first appeared in All-Star Comics #8.
That's right.
But she wasn't on the cover. And so it wasn't a great cover for her. And that book sells strong, but not as strong as it would have if she was on the cover. And that was the problem with DC. Right. They didn't generally put their first appearance characters on the cover. So they missed out on a lot of opportunities.
It's true.
So great, cool book. And this right here was Punch 12. So this guy was mostly a superhero collector, but he had some random pieces in there. And this is a Punch 12, one of the most coveted horror books out there.
Yeah.
And I was shocked to see this because I'm just flipping through stacks of books and I was like, it was so out of place. and it's so out of place.
Cool. Did you kind of just stop when you saw it? You're like,
I did.
What the?
100%. I was like, whoa. First off, I've never owned this book. And I've always I've poo-pooed it because I was like, it's a little bit, to me, overpriced per point in my mind because I'm like, okay, it's a cool cover, but whatever. And then I had it in my hand and I'm owning it. And I was like, okay, this cover is actually pretty freaking badass.
Right. It's dope.
All right. And now that I've owned it, I still think it's overpriced. But this book is like, I think it's like $10,000 a point. I mean, this is like a crazy book.
That's nuts.
You know, so it trades.
Now, when you say a point, just for the audience, explain what you mean by that.
When I say a point, it's like grading scale. So let's just say the scale goes from 0 to 10 just to simplify it. So this was a 3.0, okay, which is probably about a 3.0, maybe a 3.5. It's probably a $30,000 book, 35, give or take.
So like when you see CGC or get slabbed, people CGC, so you see them in like the slabbed in cases and you see a little number on there. It's like 9.8's kind of like the standard, what you want it to be, because 9.9 and gem is like really rare.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. So like
It's the grading scale.
Yeah. So like if it was an 8.5, you were saying it'd be like what?
Well, an 8.0 just sold to this book.
Was it $80,000
year? And it went for $200,000 plus $1,000.
So not $10,000 a point.
No.
You lie.
Yeah.
Well, imagine the closer you get to mint.
Sure. I mean, I think that was maybe second highest graded copy of that book in existence.
But it's because at that point, you're dealing with rarity, not necessarily points.
Exactly.
And that's a good point because that just sold. So this might raise all these ships on this tide to more than 10,000 a point. But at a certain level, you know, again, it becomes that coveted book that a few people want to own the highest grade. So it's a different pool of people you get into. So, it just sold for like 200. It was my buddy's book. He'll be here at this weekend is a convention. He'll be at the convention, which we'll talk about, like secret trading amongst collectors.
That's one of the more interesting things we're definitely going to talk about.
Super interesting.
And some of the things we're going to clarify on here is just, you know, a lot of you guys will already know this stuff, but for those who don't, just want to make sure we're very clear at some of the terminology.
And we'll show you a grading book here
in a second.
In just a second.
We got a few slabs here.
So let's get into the discovery of the Secret Sound collection, how it became the Secret Sound collection, and what you've found so far, et cetera, et cetera.
So I already had a good amount of backlog of comic books. Okay. I'm really good at getting stuff in, not the best at moving stuff out. Okay.
Because you're a collector.
Yeah. Collector.
You want to keep
like, I don't have that back end like a lot of people do with support. So it's kind of a one-man job and I do well, but like there's an extra step you got to take to get through a lot of pieces.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So I had stuff, but then I started thinking, I was like, you know, I haven't put myself out for a collection for a few years. I just been sitting on the same inventory, just trying to get through it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put myself out there. So this is going to be a direct shout out to my dentist. Okay.
Your dentist?
My dentist.
Wait,
my brand new dentist at the time, Dr. Ryan Chang. Shout out Bellevue Dental Arts, brother. Hey, you are the man. I love you. And you'll always have a special place in my heart because of this. Okay.
You're about to tell us that this guy put you onto the collection, aren't you?
Yes. So my wife has been using this dentist and she worked for the dentist too, because she was a dental hygienist and she always said how great of a dentist he was. So I needed a new dentist and I was able to be one of his patients because of her, because he's got a great clientele staff. He's a great dentist, super nice guy. All right. And so like all my wife's family goes to him. And so I'm like meeting him and we just get into a discussion and I kind of tell him what I do. And he's like, oh, okay, that's so interesting. And we have a chat. And then I say like 2 months later, he like calls me. And he's like, hey, one of my patients' brother has a comic collection. Is it okay if I pass on your information? I'm like, yeah, sure. 99% of the time, it's absolute trash.
Yeah, you're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Cool.
At this point, you're like, oh yeah, sure, great. Because you never know, but you're most likely going to assume the worst because
it's 100 copies of The Death of Superman.
Yeah, you've seen the worst over and over again. You think, okay? And so he does that. He passes it on. And I am now heading to San Diego Comic-Con last year. And then I all of a sudden get an email randomly from this person. Mm-hmm. And they just said, hey, I grabbed a sampling of just some comic books. They don't really know anything about them. They're just like, here's 5-6 random books. And I'm looking at them. I'm like, okay, here we go. Open up the email, scroll down to the images. Like, all right, what are we going to see? And I see them. I'm like, whoa, what am I looking at here? Taking a second, I'm at a loud bar restaurant with friends waiting for food. I'm like, oh my God. And they're like,
what were the books?
So there was like a Golden Age Green Lantern, a Silver Age Showcase comic. There was like 5
Like
random
Alan Scott
books.
Green Lantern?
Alan Scott Green Lantern.
Dang.
Yes. Yes. And I'm looking at the condition, I'm zooming in the photos. I was like, these are really nice. And it's such a random variety. I was like, this doesn't seem fake.
You're like, are these reprints? Facsimile? Are you a facsimile?
Yeah. I'm like, it's like, there's no facsimile of this book.
Am I being scammed by my dentist?
Right.
Where's Ashton? Ashton.
Is this a bad cavity joke going to lead to? What is this? So I'm just like, okay. And I call back my dentist and I'm like, hey, I'm really interested in this. What should I do or next? I mean, this is your patient. I don't want to like overstep or anything. I'm like, no, just you guys communicate and whatever. I was like, okay. So we start chatting and I'm showing everybody at the restaurant bar that I'm with, all my friends. They're like, dude, you need to lock this down. This is crazy. Right. They thought they had like 100,000 comics at the time.
Okay. So at that point, they were giving you even that high of a number.
They thought they maybe had like 100,000 comics.
Did they there was no pictures. Could you see in the background, like just stacks of anything?
It was just an individual picture of like 5 books or something like that.
Oh,
so that must have really had your alarm bells going.
Yeah, I was like, it could be anything.
100,000 comics.
It could be
that sampling.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was like, okay, that's a lot of books. Like to get to that requires like a commitment and dedication to get
just
100,000.
rebagging and boarding all those books is thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah, well, I'll get into that. Okay, so I start communicating with them. And it takes like 4 weeks before I can ever even see this collection and communication and timing.
Oh,
because they want to spend time to clean the house and organize it for me. And at me, I'm like, just leave it. You don't even know what you're looking for, what you're doing. I will look for it. But they're spending all this time. All right. And it's taking me, and I'm getting more stressed out because the longer this is out, okay, you're always assuming somebody else is going to swoop in.
Yep.
Okay, the longer this takes,
or something could happen to them.
Because you also already told some guys at the bar,
could steal it.
Yeah,
people at the bar. So like, I'm not saying that your friends there would tell anybody, but like word could have gotten out just from that alone.
Yeah,
no?
so you're insinuating my friends are thieves. No, yeah, I mean, I just showed some of my close buds, and they're like, yes, this will give you stuff to do for like 2 years, of like inventory. I finally get to see the collection after like 4+ weeks, stressful weeks. It might have even been longer because it took a long time. And I go out there and it's only an hour and a half away from me, which is also great because it's convenient, it's local in Washington.
This is something you probably would have flew out for either way too, right?
I would have flown out for sure.
Chase this anywhere.
Oh yeah. And Comic Tom came along with me as well. Brought him along just because this is like a rare opportunity to see stuff, like a massive collection. And by the time we got there, through all their work, they've concluded that they have 350,000 comics. Oh, so we get there and like we just have our introduction, conversations, get to know each other a little bit, build some rapport. I mean, this is like when you're going in to look at a collection for somebody, it's a very personal thing.
Absolutely.
Okay. So
especially in this situation, because the actual original owner, which we haven't said yet, had passed away.
Yeah. He passed away and he was estranged from his family and it was a tough situation. And they kind of had this all dropped on them. Okay. And it was just like just a disheveled home that's falling apart and the comic collection and some record collection and a few stamps here and there and tons of clothing just all over the place. I guess it was just a mess.
Was he a bit of a hoarder, did it seem?
Yes.
Okay.
But an also organized guy in other parts of his life. Every single book he's had was like in a ledger.
Really?
No way.
Yeah, there was ledger. And we didn't even think about that or keep track of that until after the fact. But later on we found some ledgers, but I think we ended up like dumping stuff because it was just papers, but like organized ledgers and beautifully handwritten. So he had these certain things. He was very organized,
very meticulous about certain things.
And he loved to garden and he would like to go outdoors.
Do you know what he did for a living?
He worked for some plant out there, some type of manager, from what I understand, at some point. So he had a high position, like important position somewhere out there at some point, but I don't know. I don't get many details because he was so separated from his family that they didn't know a lot.
Wow, that's
like from what I understand, what I was told was that the sister, I believe 10 years prior, at least, came by to say hi. He opened the door like this far apart, like a narrow gap. She had a conversation with him. He didn't say a word and just closed the door and disappeared into his home.
No.
And that was it.
It's like a movie.
Yeah. And that was like apparently like the last time she like really
I'm envisioning almost like, I don't want you to see what's in here.
Yeah, maybe he couldn't open the door more. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he didn't say a word, apparently.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyways, and I'll give you another thing. It was so buried. They had a safe there. Huge safe. This safe was like 5 foot, 10 inches.
Oh,
all right.
man.
And it was buried. They didn't even know they had a safe there.
Buried.
No way.
Buried. It was a huge safe. That's where the Golden Age books were. In a safe, buried. And like only by the grace of God that the code was above, sitting on top to get into the safe, that they were able to get into the safe without having to drill it.
I was going to say that would have been a story though, if you guys would have had to freaking, drill that lock open.
Yeah.
That would have been crazy.
Did you get that on video?
No, well, this was already all cleaned out.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. When we got
So
there,
they were explaining this to you.
that's how messy the house was. So that's why they just needed time to clean it out. They spent she said she spent like 8 weeks with friends, like 4 days a week, 8 hours a day cleaning out this home. Like it was a mess apparently. So I don't know. So when we got there, we were getting to meet each other. They organized, they took like all the like comic books that were not modern. So anything that was like, I would say 25 cents down to 10 cents and put them in shelves everywhere
so they
in the
were
house.
handling these books?
They were handling the books.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
That's,
Okay. So who knows?
Oh, man.
Yeah, they were handling them. I don't even know how they were before, but they were
Yeah.
all in shelves
Because
with
they have
tabs.
they have no idea what they're handling.
They
So
don't
for
know
all
what they're
they know, they could be handling a pile that's like worth $100,000.
Yeah, they could have.
That's crazy.
There was a bookshelf full of like Disney books they put in there and then random stacks. And in that mix of Disney books was a Spider-Man 1 just sitting there.
Oh my God.
No board.
Man. No board.
No board. Had
Just
no
a
idea.
raw-
No.
Just a bag.
An amazing Spider-Man 1.
Number 1. And it was nice. It was like a 5.5. 6.0. Just sitting there.
God.
I was just like, what?
That's
I had
crazy.
no idea. I'm just going through books. And everything seems to be kind of separated in a good way. And I was like, oh, but there's a Spider-Man 1 here. Like, what?
That is crazy.
What?
So when you see that, you're like,
Yeah, I was
It's
like,
on.
whoa.
Okay, so you get there. Were you already 100% in before you got there? Or were you still a little bit on the edge until you got there?
Oh, I was on the edge because I didn't know what I was getting
Okay,
into.
but so what, when you went in there, what like clicked in your head? Was it the Spider-Man when you're like, oh no, now I need this?
When they told me that, do you want to see the Golden Age? I was like, sure.
now how did they know? How did they know it was a golden age?
Well, it seems like all the Golden Age stuff was in the safe. Okay. Allegedly, all the Golden Age stuff was in the safe.
But was it labeled? Because I imagine they're very casual.
I don't know.
They don't know what
They
Golden
might have
Age is.
picked it up through conversation
Okay,
or
all right.
maybe I said it. I don't know. But at some point, or maybe they said you want to see the old books. I don't even know at this point. But I heard Golden Age in my head. All right. So maybe I just computed old books to Golden Age.
You heard 40s, 30s. You're like, that's what I want.
Yeah. So I'm upstairs and I just see her go. She's on the split level home. So split level home is you enter in the middle of the stairs and it goes up and it goes down. Okay.
Right.
So I'm on the main level there. Okay. And I see her go down the stairs. Okay. And she's like, they're like in their 70s, but extremely fit and active.
Okay.
They're like, man, God, I hope I'm anywhere near that. Okay?
God bless them.
God bless them. I mean, it's like, wow, you guys are an amazing couple. Jeez Louise. And I see her walk up with a box. Okay, 1 box. Okay, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let me help you. And she goes back down, comes up with another box, and goes back down, comes with another box. She made like 9 trips of boxes of Golden Age books at least. And I was like, whoa, like, I don't know when this is going to stop, but please don't stop. Okay. And then they were finally all up there. And she's got this pool table with like, she put like plywood on top of it. And he did. So it was like a big tabletop and just started laying out the books and looking at what's here. And it was just like this. I mean, I just knew like when you have Wonder Woman run from like 1 up, okay.
God.
And Wonder Woman or Sensation 1 up, Wonder Woman 1 up, to like Batman 2 up, Superman like 9 up. I mean, you have this run and all these like timely Captain Americas and Marvel mystery comics. And I was just like, oh my God, and Detective Comics. I was like, I'm buying this.
Yeah. At this point, you had to be freaking out.
Yes. I was like, I haven't even looked at the Silver and Bronze Age and he's a completist. So like there were long runs of Silver Age, you know, from like Spider-Man 1 up, Daredevil 1 up.
But see, this
a lot of Silver Age big keys were missing, like no X-Men 1, no Hulk 1, no FF 1, but like a lot of afterwards.
Do you think it's possible that at some point in all of this, someone in the family got wise as to what this was and started kind of cherry picking?
Doesn't seem like it. I thought maybe that's the case, but with they're the only ones I dealt with. It was estranged, and there could have been so much other stuff taken.
Yeah.
But you see, like what I teased at the very beginning is like you said, you're going through this. You said you have like Sensational, like 1 Up, Batman 2, like up. You have all these runs. You said Superman 6 is 9 up. So like you're still only halfway through. So that's why I teased it earlier. It's possible, especially since you're saying he has all the runs. He's a completist. You could have a Superman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A Batman 1 could be. It's possible. It's completely possible.
It is completely possible that there is a random box that got lost in like his stacking organization of it that was not set aside with the other old books. Or it's possible.
Or maybe because, Superman 1, Action 1, Detective 27, those are so coveted, he purposely has them segregated somewhere else all by themselves, where you find a box that's literally Superman 1, Batman 1, Detective 27, because he's like, these stay together because these are the ones.
Okay. But this guy was smart enough to keep the older stuff in a space.
And you I'm like, yeah.
Before I was like, okay, Arris, like I'm 100% excited that'd be great if that could happen, but it's 100% it wasn't going to happen. But until you formed it, as in like they could all be together in one box, I was like, that's possible.
Because he knew, like if he has all these books, would you put all your most valuable stuff together in one specific spot? So it's like,
but not in the safe, but next to it.
I don't know. I'm just saying
possible.
You
never freaking know.
And this one is very unlikely, but did he have multiples of any Golden Age stuff?
No, no.
Just the modern was multiple.
Modern got mobile.
So, but this guy started collecting in the 60s, 70s?
Late 70s. He started compiling a collection, sounds like.
And then, but he was collecting books as far back as the 30s.
I think the earliest book I saw was like 1940, maybe 41.
Okay.
This is like the most epic.
Just still right around the birth of most modern, the comics we know.
I'm just thinking of the most nerd epic version of American Pickers. That's what this is like.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And so when we're going through this, okay, so clearly I want this collection, right? Now,
and this is just based on the 9 or so boxes they brought from the basement.
Oh yeah. I was like, told Tom, I'm buying this. I don't care what it is. We're going to buy this. Okay.
And at this point you have not seen,
I haven't seen
stacks and stacks of
and there was stuff everywhere. We're talking every closet was packed. Like there was one closet I don't even know how he got him in. I don't know if the paper swole. Okay. Cause then it was so in there that I was just like, I didn't know how to get stuff out. So eventually somehow we wedged one stack that kind of like, what do you call it? Like bejeweled the others, whatever it's called, like dropped and then the others, and there was a clear and then he had to do that with other levels. Anyways, the shower he had filled with like graphic novels. There was like,
no way.
There's probably 4,000 graphic novels.
Oh my God.
At least. Never, most of them never read because they were still sealed. Okay. They were in the shower. They were in the garage. And then the boxes. So what he did, okay. I'm trying to say which way to go. Let's go with the old stuff first. So all the stuff that was like silver, bronze, copper, all that was separated upstairs.
Right.
Everything that was like modern was downstairs in boxes, white boxes. So what he did, and I'm not exactly sure how far he went yet because I'm still going through the collection, but at least 1989 to 2001, 2002, he bought every copy of a comic times 25 on the newsstand and one of every independent book. Okay. Crazy. That's how he amassed so much so quickly. Okay. And he never opened the boxes. All he did was label the top and say investment books, May 1990. And he just
he was dropping coin at his LCS.
Yeah, he was buying this at his.
He was buying it from Mile High Comics in Colorado.
Mile High Comics, okay.
So he wasn't even getting it from his local
Mile High shop. Really he was having this guy.
They love that guy, and so then he collected up to 2022. So he went from 25 and eventually got down to like 5 to 10.
Okay,
but like that was a slow progression.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is, since you ended up with the collection, obviously, you have every key since then.
Every key since then in multiples. Every single one.
That didn't click with me till just now that you have every almost modern key pretty much.
Yes, except for like variant covers because he didn't do variant covers. He just did the main covers.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So Batman Adventures 12. Okay.
That's one of my favorite books.
Yeah. 25 copies.
It's the first Harley Quinn for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah. First Harley Quinn. And all of them came back 9.8 except for like one, which was like a 9.6.
Because they were still wrapped.
They were all just wrapped together.
So what year did he start getting every single book? What was it?
1990, right?
I think 1989.
Oh, 89.
Okay. And even then 89, 90, he was doing like 40 plus copies. I had like Darkhawk 1 times 45, X-Force 2. I mean, all these books, I still have to go through and find them. But like, if he went back to like 88, 87 maybe, I mean, there might be an ASM 300s in there.
So did you have 25 copies of New Mutants 98?
I haven't found them if I do.
That's the first Deadpool for anyone who doesn't know. So you potentially have 25 copies of first Deadpool.
Potentially. I have to find it.
Oh my God.
I haven't gone there yet.
My God.
That is so okay. All right, well, let's not jump too far ahead. Okay, so you've seen this, you started going through this. You're like right off the bat, the Golden Age stuff. That's all you need to see. I'm getting this collection. And then you start unpacking, you start finding just comics everywhere all over this house. At what point were you're like, the negotiations started and what was that process like to actually score this thing?
So the negotiation process, that's always a dance, right? Like.
Is it worse than buying a car?
Yeah.
Anything that big?
No, I know.
It's tough because, you know, you start talking to them and I start realizing that there's no way, no matter what I say, they're going to take a first offer
for sure,
or take it from me right now today.
Right,
we
they're
tried
smart enough to,
and
you can't blame them for that either.
And it's mostly because their real estate agent told them to get multiple offers, and she also knew a comic guy. Okay, so like
I'm assuming you didn't know what the other offers were going to be.
I didn't know what the other offers are going to be.
So you don't know.
I'm the first one to see it,
right?
Okay, so I'm just trying to build as much rapport with them as possible. And keep a good dialogue and we just threw out a number for now just to be in it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I threw out what I thought was a number that I know most people over what most people are going to come with.
Right.
Okay. Because it's still a lot of money
you came when in it comes with your down Pawn Stars number.
Yeah. I came in with the number and I knew no matter what I said. So I was like, there's no point going higher. There's 0 point to go higher.
I was going to say at that point, knowing there's other bidders and not knowing what they're bidding.
Yeah.
What's that got to be like? 'Cause you're like, okay, I have to give a number where it's going to be competitive and hopefully has to be higher than there, but also I have to be comfortable with it. Was that just like hard in itself to be like, okay, because I need to be coming in I need to be the highest offer because clearly the likelihood of me getting this is having the highest offer, but I also don't want to overshoot. So what's like
see, it's a tough one because you got to think for 350,000 comics, it's going to cost me $90,000 to bag and board that many comics.
That's what we're talking about. No.
Alone.
Hold on.
Just to bag and board.
Hold on.
Holy.
We're not going by that. We're not going to just go right over that.
So let's talk about expenses, right?
Hold on. Wait. Well, Jeff, hold on. You hold on right there, dude. You just told me this, okay, bag and board. Just bag and boards. We all know.
Not even time.
Like it's like $1, right?
Yeah, no.
So just to buy the bag and boards, $90K.
It'll be $90K to bag and board every book.
Is everyone hearing that? Everyone, $90,000 to bag and board. That's not the books. That's just to store them properly, to bag and board them, to protect them properly.
And that's not even buying boxes for them that are appropriate. Now I think about it. That's not even for buying long boxes to put them in because they're in white boxes like this big, flat, and like. And every one of them
not in any way that you can actually reasonably.
Yeah, and every one of them needs to like be anything that's good needs to be pressed.
That is genuinely when you put it out like that. That is genuinely mind blowing.
That is.
It's like because like me, it's like I'll go on Amazon. I gotta spend like $100 on bags and boards. You're like, oh, it's got this collection, $90K. Amazon, bring like freaking 2 18-wheelers.
Arris is like, that's at least 3 nice dinners out. At least.
Dude, crazy. Okay.
So now you're weighing that into the equation.
You also got to weigh that about 300,000 books you're going to give no crap about and don't know what you're going to do with. Because yes, when you hit, but you start realizing that like 99% of the stuff in that time frame of like 89 to like 2002 is like pretty much almost worthless on the flip for the effort. So you almost have to bulk it out and hope you can get a dime a book, a 50 cents a book, unless you put in the time and effort. Again, if you put in time and effort and just drop it at a convention and $1 a book and get it blown out, a bunch of stuff. But guess what? All those people are going to mess up your books. It'll be all unorganized. Okay. You're going to spend 3 years.
It's a lot of time.
It is a lot of time. And you're like, what is this worth?
And time is money, friends.
Right.
Time is money.
Yeah. And do I want the capital back to put towards another collection, or am I going to have it tied up for a long period of time when I'd rather be trying to just keep it rolling? And that's kind of what what I'm learning through this process.
Yeah.
So the negotiation began, us just talking, and we started a number, and I slowly started escalating it in my head and having discussions with Tom too, and make it look like we're just talking. And eventually made an offer of $175,000 for it. Okay. Okay.
Wow.
There's a lot of money in this collection to be made.
Right.
But there's that's bagging and boarding, grading fees alone. I just dropped a golden age portion of this collection. I've graded probably 800 books now from this collection. And I would say my grading fees have to be at least grading, pressing, dry cleaning, at least $70,000 already.
Okay, well, it's roughly what? So let's call it $30 a book to get graded, right?
For anything that's like a certain tier, yes.
Yeah.
It's going to be because I have to have everything pressed.
Right.
Because it's all staggered.
Oh, that's right.
And they all have a little something. And they'll come back nice in 9/8, but every press costs me $15 and dry clean. Every grade is going to cost me $22.50 because that's what a dealer account is per modern book.
It's normally 25.
So now you're 37 and a half in plus shipping. So let's just say $40+ per book. Okay. So you're like, okay. So yes, I'm grading books. So if what's the cutoff? If I don't hit that 9.8, it's a 9.6, 9.4, I just lost money.
Right.
Literally, because that drop off from 9.8 to 9.6 is huge on some of these books because the market went real quick.
So you're already thinking from how much was the initial offer?
175.
175.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, right between what you're estimating on your expenses up front between bag and boards and your grading fees where you're at now, which is about $160,000 all combined between bag and boards and grading, right?
Yeah. And I'm not going to bag and board obviously the whole collection because it's not worth it.
So in your head saying 175, you're really thinking I'm around 400K in.
Yeah, when I'm 175, I'm like, okay, no matter what I say, they're not going to take anything right now. So I'm just going to come with 175. Okay. I would bid more than that, quite a bit more, if I thought it would have gone to seal the deal. But it wasn't going to.
Yeah.
Okay, I already know that. The Golden Age stuff is worth a great amount of money. Okay. So we basically leave at that point. They have their numbers. They're going to talk about it. Actually, the other thing too important to know is that we took an entire run of Batman from them from 2 to 100. And I graded every single one, went through every single book, counted every single page, and thought that would be a good way to know what's in this book. And you start to realize there's books that are restored. Okay, restored means that someone has touched up the book with colored pencil, marker, tape, glue, something.
Sharpie,
they've done stuff, Sharpie, something
to make it look new.
Certain archival tape to be specific. So, you realize, okay, this isn't a perfect collection. Some of them are missing pages. So you also have to kind of be a little skeptical. You're like, okay, it may look great, but when you open it up, there's issues there, which is going to detract and take away from the value immensely on some of these.
Right.
So you also got to kind of be careful on that. So we gave them that information just to be fair and straight and honest with them. And we left and we kind of stayed in communication. And to make kind of a longer story short, I didn't wrap up this deal for 12 weeks or something.
Oh my God.
So they came back and instead of having one other person to bid with, they found another person. So now it became a bidding war between me and 2 others. Okay. I had no idea who they are.
With you, there's 3 people going after.
So with me, there's 3 people now. And I talked to them and they said, oh, you had the best offer out of everybody. Okay. Everybody else offered 125. I was like, great. Let's wrap it up and seal up. And they're like, well, we want to give everybody a fair chance, an opportunity to also have it to, get their last
translation. We're trying to see if someone will give us more money.
So I'll bid you. Yeah.
Right. Which is exactly what I would do.
He said 175. Yeah. Will you do 185?
Yeah. I got 175 going once. I got 175 going twice.
Exactly. And again, as it goes longer and longer, I keep getting concerned that someone else is going to come in that's much bigger, like one of these huge auction houses that are just going to come
$500,000.
Yeah, or just let us take it all for you and we'll auction it off and just give you the money.
Right.
Okay, if they even wanted to deal with that. So it was a long 12 weeks. I was not like, there was a couple of times in my headspace where I was like, oh my God, who are these people? Is there other people? Am I bidding against myself? You start wondering. You're going crazy. Wait, like,
am I bidding against myself?
Yeah. Are there other people?
It's alternate versions of me from the multiverse.
Yeah, right.
Jeff, you got to beat yourself. I'll bid yourself, Jeff.
Am I King the Conqueror?
Don't do it, Jeff. You should do it, Jeff. Don't do it, Jeff. So I'm just going through some of that stuff. And I was like, even talking to Tom, I was like, Tom, is it crazy? Should I hire a private investigator just to like see, is there actually somebody there?
Oh my God.
I was like, no, that's crazy, right? Tom's just laughing. It's like, yeah.
These people can't be that smart. But what if they are that smart? I don't know.
They're so nice. They just seem so nice. Like I trust them, right? And I'm trying to trust the process. And that was their phrase. Just trust the process, Jeff. Trust the process.
They said that to you?
Yes, over and over again. Yeah. Trust the process.
That would make me the opposite of feeling comfortable. I'd be like, why? I don't want to trust the process.
Yeah. I'm just like, I don't understand. So we did this bidding war and it was like 9 weeks of bidding war. And I kept always being like the most aggressive. I was like, I'm being the most aggressive out of everybody here. And why is this like,
so you did have to go up from 175?
Yes, I had to go up from 175. Okay. So I kept going up. And I was being more pushy. And I was like, listen, just pick a number. All right. And I was like, I will give you this for it. Okay. Let's just end it right now. I will give this to you right now. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. And they didn't want to do it. They wanted to stick to the process. Okay. I was like, man, are you serious? I was like, I am your buyer.
And so
I told them that I am your buyer. I will be the one who's going to win this. I'm just telling you. So let me just give this to you now and let's just end this already.
So do you think they were lying when these people probably weren't? I mean, you'll never know, but like, do you think these people were matching your bids?
They couldn't match my bid. They had to go up. Right. And I was like, okay, if we're going up, like, can we stop? Like, what are the real increments? Can we put some real increments on this? Like,
so were they not, so they were not doing like, it wasn't this guy's offering 200. Can you match it or do more? Like, were they not doing that?
No, because there's no point matching it. You have to go more.
So can you do more than that? All right.
Yeah. Eventually we set a marker of, I think like $15,000 or $20,000 markers or something like that.
Okay.
But it got to a point, and I'll tell you one of the most stressful parts of this whole dang thing, because I've been in it longer than anybody else. Okay. I was there from the start. So it's like a long process for me. I told you where my headset's, my mind's been going already.
3 months,
about this. I was like, I have to get this collection. Yeah. Like, this collection is amazing. Okay. So I'm driving with my kids and they call me. All right. And it's like, I don't know, it's wintertime. It's like dark, 7:38. And they're like, hey, Jeff, we're going to go with buyer B. They didn't offer as much, but we're going to go with them. I was like, wait, what? Why? And they're like, well, we just didn't like your pushiness. And like, we kept asking you to just trust the process. All right. And I was just like, whoa.
Is that for real?
For real. Okay. So I just immediately like pulled off to the side of the road. Okay. And I was just like, got out of my car, had a conversation with them. God. And I spent like the next 40 minutes just trying to explain. I was like, hey, I get it. If I was being pushy, I apologize. I wasn't trying to be pushy. But like, I've been in this longer than anybody else. So I'm just trying to wrap this up and just trying to talk to them and let them know, like, you know, I really am the person I'm trying to tell you. Trying to make the best deal for you. And you're accepting an offer already way less than the highest one I was going to give you anyway. And, it literally took like 40 minutes of conversation with them. And he even told me, he's like, hey, all right, let me talk to my wife because it's her brother's collection. Let me see how she feels about that. And then I'll let you know. So they call me back like 10, 15 minutes later. And she's like, okay, that's fine. She's okay with it. But Jeff, no more. Okay, just please, stick with the process. Stick with the process.
You need to get that tattoo now.
Yeah.
That's his new life motto.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay. So I made my offer, and the next day they call me and like, all right, Jeff, you want it. You got the best offer in. Everyone else backed out. I was like, So like 12 hours ago, I was going to lose it. 12 hours later, now I got it. It was such an emotional roller coaster.
That's crazy. I didn't know that part.
Jeff hangs up the phone. He's like, am I selling this to myself? Is this a future me?
Yeah. Wait, did I win it for less? But I didn't.
You told me you've told me the short version of the story before, but not that detailed version. That's crazy. I didn't know that you were going to lose it like that. Like she was literally saying you're too pushy. That's crazy. Well, first of all, it's kind of crazy that in their headspace, for whatever reason, because obviously they're dealing with the death of a family member, so they're in a.
I don't even think that freaking that mattered that much.
No, okay.
It was so strange. I tried to connect emotionally with them on that, and it never seemed like it was.
It was such an attachment.
Yes, and I mean maybe she was internalizing differently, but like I was just like, can I get more information about him? I'd love to somehow memorialize this in some fashion because it's such a great collection. And it was just like. There was like nothing there.
That's wild, man.
Yeah. And
it's just crazy that they were willing to take a lower offer. It's kind of like what I said earlier. I was like, well, someone's match it, where they'll take the match just because they like that person more for whatever reason. Not because clearly it's the same amount of money, so it doesn't matter. But it's like they were going to lose a lot of money for whatever reasons were.
Yeah. I was like, oh, shoot. I mean, it was, dude, when they hit me with that, I was like, and I, listen, look, I knew in my heart, I was like, I should just go with this because I do trust them. After a while, you kind of lose it. And then you have people in your ear who are telling you different things. Like I had my friends tell me, no, Jeff, no, dude, you got to go. You got to push this. I was like, I don't know, man. And I knew not to, right? But I kept going. And I was just like, dang it. And
when you it's like you have this once in a lifetime opportunity in front of you and you don't want to let it slip away.
Yeah.
And so there's had to have been all kinds of demons going on, like pulling the angel and the demon on each shoulder. Just yes, no.
It was. I was just like, and I knew that's why you got to trust yourself most of the time, guys. Yeah. Like
trust your gut.
And I had done this a long time and I should have stuck with it.
But you got it.
I got it, but it would have been a lot less heartache that time.
I wonder if they would have just sealed the deal sooner if they didn't feel that kind of back and forth tug. Yeah, it's irrelevant.
It made you stronger. You're a better person for it.
That's right. They gave you a very heart-stopping last final 12 hours, and then you land this amazing collection.
I lost another collection the year before.
Oh,
because it was part of an estate, but it was donated to a university. Oh, wow. Amazing collection.
Was it? Would you say it's better than this one?
Less books, and it had an Action 1 in it.
Ooh, you might have one.
No,
I'm not letting it go. I
lost it because it was
keep hope alive.
It was donated to a university because it was part of the gentleman's will to donate his books.
I mean,
but the comics were separate. But somehow they got rolled into it and I just wasn't aggressive enough on it that I missed out on that.
So that's why with this one, you were probably like, I need to be a little more aggressive because you were like kind of jaded / scarred from the previous collection.
A little bit. I was more scarred that I didn't want to lose another collection, but I've lost collections by not being aggressive enough because there's a lot of sharks in this pool.
Sure, yeah.
Okay? So there are. So you need to be ready to go and pull the trigger, but there is that fine line, right? And I was uncomfortably pushing it in a way that I just wouldn't normally. And I knew I shouldn't, but I just kept going with it.
But now you kind of know for let's say tomorrow you got a call of something kind of cool. Now you kind of know more of I
got to lead another collection.
You were teasing this. Is it Silver Age?
It's a Silver Age one, but I don't want to talk about it because I don't know yet.
Yeah, we'll get you back and pretty much that one. But going off that, so you got the collection, it's yours. And now you got a Providence, right?
Oh yeah.
You got to talk about that. So it's a secret sound.
Yeah. So again, kicking names around with my wife. So I called the Secret Sound. All right. We came up with this name because it was the secret collection off the Puget Sound, which is a body of water in the Northwest.
First, you got to explain to everyone what a Providence is and how you're the second person for CGC to have this.
Okay. So CGC has collections. So they'll put someone's collection, like Nicolas Cage collection. Nicolas Cage could be a comic collector. Right. And if you had one of his books, he has Nicolas Cage on the label. Actually, we should show a graded book here.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me show you guys a graded book. So this is one of the graded books from the Secret Sound collection.
You take this guy.
And this is what it would look like. And they would have just the name in black and white. It would just say Nicolas Cage collection.
Right.
Then there's pedigrees. Pedigrees are collections that were amassed originally off the newsstands. So from the comic shops or the actual newsstand by the original owner.
Right.
Okay. And then it has to be of certain high quality and have key books in it. Okay. And usually a certain amount of books as well. Then you get a special gold label.
Right.
All right. But I think that's starting to die off as it's being more difficult to find those collections in time. I think there's 64 pedigrees, give or take, I believe. That now they're trying a thing called a provenance. So the first provenance was given to the Fantastic collection, which is actually putting out a documentary called Selling Superman, which looks pretty good, about a father who amassed this large comic collection as well. Many, many duplicates. Really a cool story, heartbreaking and all that in so many ways. And then I had this collection come up, and I was able to get the second provenance ever called The Secret Sound.
Awesome.
So just kind of like a island graphic off of a coast. And again, The Secret Sound was just, like I said, a secret collection off the Puget Sound. And so that
just
took
mash
some
them
work.
together. You're like, it's a secret. It's off the sound, Secret Sound.
Well, I mean, that's dumbing down. It took a lot of effort.
You're like, you're belittling my naming, okay? All right. You know how many people I passed this by?
It's a lot of brainstorming.
Research.
It's a very cool name, though, for real.
It is.
R&D.
Well, you made that logo too, also, right?
Okay, so I had somebody making the logo, so I didn't get to make it. I would have liked it to have been a more clear, a little more sharp. I might redo it, which is going to be really expensive.
Yeah, because you have to
There's an investment in it.
Yeah.
Not just re-slab them, just to get the cost of the label to have them all, because you have to have a minimum amount of them.
Oh.
So there's like rules. The province, you have to submit a certain amount of books. You have to pay for the labels ahead of time. And so it's like alone, it's like a $5,000 investment just for like the labels.
Dang. Wow. Well, I mean, it's a sophisticated title. Provenance.
Provenance, right.
Provenance.
Or provenance. That's right. So it's a thing.
But at what point in going through the collection where you're like, I'm going to go after that because of, to where you felt like this is a significant enough collection that you were going to pursue that?
When I bought this collection, I didn't really know of provenance yet. And I don't think it was even a thing yet. I mean, it's fairly new, because I finally picked up this collection in November of last year. So I wasn't even considering it until they introduced provenance, and then I presented it to CGC, and there's enough quality of books there and amount of books that they felt that it qualified for that. So I was like, okay, well, let's do this. If I'm going to do this, let's go. So created a graphic, created the logo for it, had it done, and presented them for the very first time. Well, excuse me. I've been selling some of the modern stuff.
Right.
All right. So I've been selling the modern stuff. I have not done anything from Copper Age to Golden Age. It's only been like more modern books to just kind of move some things.
And you're just holding it for now.
Yeah. I was trying to make a plan together.
Right.
And this kind of happened and transpired into this. And I was like, okay, so I dropped the Golden Age books like 2 weeks ago at New York Comic Con for the very first time. I'm starting with the Golden Age, and I'll do Silver and Bronze after.
Okay.
That's the next phase next year.
So you're literally just going to go in the order of all the ages.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
There was a huge response from it.
Golden Age was an amazing show and a huge response. I can't tell you how many people came to me and said, you have the best selection of comics here out of anybody. And I am desensitized because I've been around it all year.
Yeah.
And then I took a step back and I looked at some photos, and I started to see, is like looking at myself with this backdrop of books. You're like, oh, wow, this is actually crazy spectacular.
And just like a sampling, like what are we talking about as far as the books?
Like the run of like Sensation 1 up, basically. Well, some of these are keepers.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
but like basically Sensation 1 up, Batman 2 up, and all of it, like basically all of it except.
And you had this all out of.
Yeah. I kept like 40 books.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot of Golden Age books to keep.
That's a lot of gold. Yeah.
I'll probably sell all the Silver Age except maybe the Showcase 4. And I'll probably sell the Showcase 4 because whatever. It's missing a page. Spider-Man 1, I'll probably keep. But I think some of the other stuff I'll probably move. If there's an Albedo 2, I'll keep that because that's just a tough book. It's a tough book. It's a Copper Age, but it's a tough book.
No Amazing Fantasy 15s in there?
Not yet. What do you say?
Could be.
Could be.
In the other half.
Could
by
be.
the Action One.
Can you imagine if like when you finally go through it and I was right and literally he kept
There's like
all
a
of
box of like
them,
Batman
just
1.
all the keys in here.
Batman 1, Action Comics 1, Amazing Fantasy. Yeah.
If there's 2 Batman ones, I'll give you one if that's.
You said it.
It's recorded now.
You said
You can't say, okay, now look this way and say something like that too. Is there one that way and then one this way?
I don't know what you like.
I'm a Hulk guy.
Oh, Hulk.
Dude, Hulk is my guy.
If there's 2 Hulk ones, I'll give you Hulk one.
Dude, oh my God.
See, now this
But
is,
also-
look, this is legal. Okay,
But
it's
also
legal now.
binding.
You're the
binding.
Hulk. People don't know this.
A lot of podcasts to be had after that.
Or not enough people know this.
The most expensive podcast ever recorded.
Speaking of Hulk, you're the first Wolverine guy, Hulk 181. You had like 20 copies at one point.
Shoot, I still have them. I think I have 25 copies now. Maybe.
You have 25 copies of the first appearance of Wolverine.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think maybe 26, 25.
That is
Various
why?
grades.
So I was really big into that book years ago.
Was it Spec Book?
Years ago. Spec Book, loved that book.
Right.
And at the time it seemed really cheap. I mean, you could buy these for like $100, $200. I mean,
Why didn't you tell me this? What? You have my number.
there was no number at that time. I don't know. Apple just came out in 2001. So yeah, at the time you could have bought Hulk 181s for like, I bought a Hulk 181 for $5 in Hawaii.
Oh my God.
It was beat up, but like whatever. Like you could buy them. My friend had a sealed box of Hulk 181s that he had released. Okay. And he sold them like near mint copies for $400 a piece. They were selling them.
Oh,
That's
my
how much
God.
they were at one point.
That shows you what we were talking about earlier, like how much the market has changed over the last 20 years.
I got to imagine it's going to spike again with Hugh Jackman's return in Deadpool 3. You would think it's probably going to spike again.
Well, I finally got them graded and decided to sell them at like the worst time of all the years I've had these books. So finally just like, I'm doing it, guys, and let's document it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not doing it right now. I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
So I have I might still sell them. I don't know, man. I like that book, but
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
do you have any of those in the Secret Sound collection?
there's one in the Secret Sound
There's
collection.
one.
It is a gorgeous looking copy, but there's the faintest, like long color break on the corner. I think I flopped over once because the Hulk 180 came back 9.6. Okay, but the 181 I kept raw, and I think it would have also came back 9.6, 9.8 if it didn't have that. It was a beautiful
I mean, it's still a near mint copy though.
No, because it's got the color break.
Oh, it's good. You said it's got the break on it.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so it's probably a 7.0,
okay.
7.5. I don't know. We'll see how hard. It's
wild,
so
dude.
faint. I'm like, oh, but it's there. I was like, it's not there, is it? It's just a shadow, right?
It's just
And I'm looking. I was like, no, right? Shadow
I mean,
line.
you
Dang
don't.
it.
I mean, you don't really need it. So like, it's got a color break. You got like 22 already. It's just like, just mail it over here.
Bro, you want a Batman one and a Hulk one.
This guy, he'll keep going if you let him. You got to stop him.
I didn't ask for the Batman one. You offered the Batman one.
I recant.
That's true.
I recant.
That is a fair point.
I recant the Batman one.
All right. So how long did it take you to actually gather, collect, and ship all of these comics from this house to yourself?
Okay, so it took 6 U-Hauls. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
6?
Yes,
U-Hauls?
and it's not because of the amount, it's because of the weight. So we calculated that it was about 72,000 pounds of weight of books,
That's crazy.
right? But most U-Hauls are like rated for like 8 to 10,000 pounds,
Right,
except
right.
some are like 12. So we're like, okay, dispersing weight and all these vehicles, and we had to have like 5, 6 people, you know? So it's just like this whole ordeal, all day thing. It took like all day to load up these vehicles. I mean, to just...
And you probably, I'm assuming, did you have a place to
So
put all
many
these or did you have to rent
Yes,
out?
I had a friend's place
Okay.
to do it.
Okay.
And God bless him, but it sits like 23 feet square by, it was like 6.5 feet tall of white boxes all like clumped together.
Insane.
Okay. And it was just nuts. And it's been fun to go through, but it's like hard to navigate through it all because it's all buried and stacked. And you're just like, I would need 10,000 square feet of space just to like
Right.
lay them out.
That's
And you've done a number of videos actually showing you just kind of going through some of these systematically and breaking open these bags and opening and going through it like bit by bit by bit.
Oh, 100%. I mean, if you go to the, IG, my Golden Age Guru, Golden Age Guru, you'll see like, I don't know what's in this box. 1994. Let's open it up.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, there's like 8 boxes and there might be a good hit in there.
Right.
And there might be absolute waste of time.
You're literally doing box breaks for comic books. You know how that's very popular
Pretty
with
much.
cards right now? You're doing it with comic books.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then I just did an unboxing of all the graded Golden Age books I did. So
Right.
that was like 8 boxes. And that was fun. Oh, I'll tell you another cool thing. So we talked about the Gerber Journal, right? Gerber Photo Journal. So check this out. About 15 to 20 books in this collection are the actual copies photoed in the Gerber Photo Journal.
That's not
No
true.
way.
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
Yes. So he's been collecting for so long. At some point, he bought these from Mile High. Okay. So I'm assuming, because I checked all the names that were in the Gerber Photo Journal of like people that were mentioned for helping with it. He wasn't in there, and there's a lot of names. So I'm thinking that he bought these either from Mile High or some other collector at some point along the way.
Mhm.
So it's just switched hands somewhere, someplace. But there, like 15 or 20 of them were in there, and I like each one I had to systematically look at. I was like, okay, there's the markings because there's notes or signatures or something. There's probably more, but that's all I could identify because of markings. But the other cool thing is that there were, I think, like 6 Edgar Churches in there, which is like the most coveted pedigree of all time.
Jeez.
Okay. So they were undocumented churches in there that have never been seen before.
That is
They've been lost in
crazy.
time.
Man.
And they came back like 9 6s, 9 8s.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
Freaking, you hit the
That-
mother load.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
Well,
That is
is that kind of a
extremely
full
cool.
circle moment though? Because going back to earlier, you were saying getting into Golden Age, that's how you would kind of like before the internet, you would go to the Gerber stuff and look,
Yeah.
see the photos. So now
It's true.
coming full circle, you have some of the books that you were highlighting in there as like, you know, one day. That's really cool, actually.
That is really
That is
cool.
really cool. That's dope.
Jeff's like,
Yeah.
I never thought of it that
Yeah.
way. Actually. Yeah.
People never thought about today. Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So it means it was like kind of meant for you then in like a weird way, right?
Yes.
It's definitely one of the coolest stories as far as comic finds I've ever heard. Like, congratulations on this find, locking this in, and the Secret Sound collection. It's
His provenance.
His provenance. It's such a cool find, but it's also so cool that you've got your own collection.
Well, you got to show. You got 2
Like-
more slabs here too. You got to show us. We got 2 more here.
So
wanna see
show
them?
us what else you got here
Sure.
before we go, so everybody can.
Yeah. Here's some of
We
the,
got this Batman 16, which is
so that's the first Alfred.
this is the first Alfred.
Yeah, it's the first Alfred.
First appearance of Alfred
Everybody can
Pennyworth.
see that.
That's a 7.5. I think they hit it kind of
So,
hard. I
yeah.
think that could be an 8.0, 8.5. This is
First Clayface, right?
first Clayface, which you said you just did a video
We
on.
did a history of Clayface, and
That's
we
right,
talked
yeah.
about
History
all
of
the
Clayface.
versions of Clayface. This being the first.
And this is cool because the page quality was really nice on a lot of these books. This is white pages from a book that's probably what, 19, what's that, 43? What's it say on there?
Let me see.
Then you got a Superman World War II cover,
Yeah.
which is awesome. This is what, Superman 26.
8.5 white pages.
1943 for this one.
Superman 26. That is a very early Superman title.
That's crazy. And DC like to stayed out of most of the war stuff. They
Yeah, it
just
was
didn't
only
get
Marvel
involved.
that was like,
Marvel went in, and we did have a Marvel here. I'll show you some of the. There was also Wonder Woman 1, which was also
no
cool.
big.
No big,
Wonder Woman
no
1.
big deal. Wonder Woman number 1.
This is
Oh, you guys can see this.
yeah,
Put
this
this right here, so you guys can see it closer.
this is an example of what like war
So Marvel Comics what?
Yeah, Marvel Comics number 64. I mean, if you just look at this guy's being run over with like a spiked what do you call those?
Bulldozer?
Not a bulldozer.
Cement.
Oh yeah,
Call those things.
what the heck do you call
They
it?
flatten the
Steamroller? No, roller.
Steamroller?
Steamroller, yeah, right.
Steamroller, I think,
yeah,
yeah.
like a steamroller, spiked steamroller.
Yeah, yeah.
You got a body
What's
dripping over it in
is
blood.
that's
See that?
Marvel Comics before like Stan Lee Marvel Comics that we all know. Because Stan Lee Marvel
Oh,
Comics
yeah.
is a Silver Age.
Stan Lee wrote his first comic story
For
in Captain America Comics number 3.
Yes.
So he would be on this title already because it's Marvel Comics 64 already. So he's in here doing his thing.
right, but this is before like Marvel popped off with the Fantastic Four, Hulk, all that stuff.
Before he completely changed
He
the
changed
game.
like the Marvel we know and love now. This is before that.
100% because
Yeah.
you had Timely because that's what this was, Timely, and then it went to Atlas, and then
Yes.
eventually got Marvel. And
But it's crazy that he was around. Like, I mean, it kind of makes sense though that he was around before. Like, I call it the Stan Lee Kirby Marvel, that Silver Age. Like he was around before that, but because of that, he gradually made his way to like Marvel, where he kind of spearheaded it with Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he stuck through it. I mean, through the good times and the bad times. Yeah. World's Finest Comics #3.
Can we talk? Okay, personal question. This is going to be all personal preference, but would you agree with me in saying that DC has some of the most nostalgic, just iconic covers more so than Marvel?
Yes.
Okay, right? Because there's just something like wholesome about them. It's just like Americana. I'm not saying Marvel doesn't have that as well. I'm just saying since DC predates them so much, it's more nostalgic, it's more classic. It's Golden Age.
It does. It yells Golden Age. It yells hometown boy.
And it does, because you see Batman smiling, something you rarely ever see Batman do now. Like it was a whole different era.
Yeah, it was. And like World's Finest Comics kind of has your characters kind of hokey and doing funny things.
Yeah, it was a simpler time.
Yeah. And then this is Detective Comics 73. So that was the first appearance of Scarecrow. Okay.
Right. Yes.
The World's Finest.
World's Finest.
Yeah.
And this is the first Scarecrow cover, Detective Comics #78. Now, if this cover was on that book, I mean, that book would be probably 3 times what it is now. It's already an expensive book.
Yeah.
So, it goes back to what you were saying before about how they often didn't put the first appearance on the cover.
It's interesting though, because that cover right there, World's Finest, is still a very iconic cover. I mean, you have Batman, Superman, and Robin playing baseball, and they're all smiling like, aren't we having a good time? America's pastime.
And it's the first appearance of Scarecrow.
Yeah.
And how many these you're keeping all of these?
Yeah, I'm going to keep all these for now, or just eventually maybe use them in a trade for maybe a bigger book, consolidate.
I see that.
So I think that's kind of the plan. Just have these pieces ready to go if something comes along.
It's crazy to me because doing what we do on Variant, obviously, since Variant is video, it is digital. We have to use a lot of digital assets so we can put the pictures on the screen. So it's funny. I'm constantly seeing these images and covers and stuff because we're putting them in the episodes and stuff like that. And even having to read them that way because where you're going to get your hands to read an original first appearance of Cleveland. So it's just crazy having them in studio right now and stuff. And, I've held a lot of expensive and iconic books, but it never gets old. No. It's always like, wow, this is literally a piece of pop culture history. Like legitimately, that's like a piece of Americana. Like I know some people will be like, oh, nerd books. It's like, no, this is literally a piece of American pop culture and it's awesome. Did
I show this one here?
Yeah. The first Alfred.
Yeah. First Alfred. It's like you said, because we deal with this stuff so much, just covering it, that you kind of take it for granted to some degree, kind of like what you were saying, like you had just been dealing with it for a while before you actually took it to New York Comic Con. You had to step back and go, oh, this is kind of insane. Yeah. But it's to hold a book that was, written by Bob Kane, let's say, and it actually has his name on the cover. That's not just like pop culture history. That's history, period. Like that's a piece of American and world history. It's a piece of art history. Like it's really unique and cool. How many, just like in your experience, because you've already got a lead on another collection, you said, how many collections like this do you think are actually out there?
It's amazing. Every year there's collections that are being found. I don't know about this quantity. This is kind of mind-numbing number to have to digest. 350,000, right? But of quality comics, it just seems every year something's being found a couple times a year, at least somewhere out there. By who knows? Like, will you ever hear it? Or will anybody bring attention to it? Who knows? Or will it just be sold? Right? You just don't know. But
or given to a university.
Yeah, something turns up at someone's house. Someone's at the right place, or it's a collection people have put together. I mean, there's a lot of books out there that people have that they collected when it wasn't worth much, and they're still around. These people,
that's crazy.
It's wild. Man.
I mean, if you think about it, if you were just collecting in the 70s or 80s heavily,
oh yeah,
you're still around.
Yeah,
and these collections are out there.
So keep your eyes and ears open, is what we're saying, because you never 100%. Know what you might stumble
into. Keep your ears to the ground.
Yeah,
or if you're someone like Jeff, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it.
Yeah, if you're grinding,
forget about it.
Yeah, if you're grinding in comics and you really want to do that, like make it your thing. Let everybody know what you do. I mean, like screaming from the rooftops, because these things come from anywhere, at any time, at any place, and it could happen to you. It could happen to anybody. So
So I guess that kind of leads to the last question before we wrap up, is if someone did want to get into silver or golden age books, maybe they're a collector, but they basically have stayed in the modern world, but they want to get into older, but what would be your advice to just dipping your toe in the water to get started with that?
Yeah, it's a tough one. You know, if you don't have someone who's going to guide you at all, I would suggest you just...
If you don't have a guru?
Yeah. You know, you can always reach out to me if you got questions anyway, to be honest. I always answer questions.
Slide into his DMs.
Yeah. Swipe right for the guru. Where's that left? I don't know. So I would go into certain genres. I think it's the safest bet to just dip your toe into crime books. Those are fairly underappreciated and really great, usually good artwork, good stories. The crime stuff can have a lot of true stories, which are fun to read because you're reading about actual gangsters back in the day and crimes they've committed.
Yeah.
Low grade horror. Yeah. Like low grade horror. ECs are a little bit more expensive, like your Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horrors, but there's a lot of non-EC, which was the publishers that you can get into that also had horror in it, and just get some low grades and kind of start there. Quality comic publications. So like Police Comics, Plastic Man. Those are just some entry level titles to get into. Fawcett Comics like Captain Marvel Adventures, Marvel Family. You can get into that stuff fairly cheap. Just get a low grade. So there's a lot of ways to just dip your toe in, get used to it, get comfortable, see if you even like it.
Yeah. Start getting feel for the numbers.
Yeah.
It's interesting too. A lot of those characters that you were mentioning, like Shazam, originally Captain Marvel, Plastic Man, they weren't originally DC. They later became acquired by DC. So it's funny to think that like these Golden Age characters weren't even necessarily starting off with the big two, like DC or Marvel. They were just later acquired as these publishers kind of faded away and Warner and Disney sustained everything.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was basically lost in what I don't know, to history basically. And then they're like, all right, well let's get them. And so it's just interesting. Those are some great ones, right? Crime, horror. Horror is a big entry for a lot of people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For them, it feels cool. I'm getting into something horror, something scary.
I want some Tales from
crime. Also feels a little bit different.
Crime can be really, really violent. So it can also, like I said, be a great way to get in there. I feel like there's one other that I'm missing. I wouldn't do Westerns. I would stay away from that. Some people are liking the Disney funny animal stuff.
I've seen that getting quite popular.
Yeah, a lot of people are getting into that. But I think that's a good start. Like go there.
Yeah, those are some really good starting points.
Yeah.
So, and also, you know, you put out a ton of content talking about what you do and how you do it, right?
Yeah.
So tell everybody where they can find you, how they can follow you, and just some of the content that you do talk about.
Yeah, I mean,
before we wrap up.
Yeah, most of my content's gonna be put on Instagram, but I also put on TikTok here and there. But a Golden Age Guru, come there. Comic Tom 101 if you're on YouTube. Talk long format conversations there as well, and or we're doing some vlog stuff now, just being on the hunt for comics. So those would be the best places. If you ever got a question, feel free to DM me on Instagram.
Slide into those DMs,
man.
Well, we don't have time for it today, but we have to mention it because we teased it earlier. As far as we did want to talk about the kind of the trading behind the scenes.
Yeah, behind the scenes.
I think we're gonna have to get you back on for that because I just wanted to bring it up because we teased it earlier, and I don't want him to be like, "You said you were gonna talk about it." It's like, not today, but we're gonna have you back.
Yeah,
we're gonna have you back because that could be a whole nother hour.
Yeah, that is easily a conversation by itself. That's why I didn't bring it back up because we ran a little bit long, but that is definitely we're gonna have you back on to talk because the conversation behind the scenes of the Golden Age comic buy, sell, trade world is very interesting.
Just to tease it more, to pique your interest already, is there's a whole, so you go to Comic Cons and stuff like that, and you see all these books, like you said, you had a secret sound at New York Comic Con, they can go to your booth and buy them and look at them. But there's a whole nother show that goes on behind the scenes with the dealers and people where you're literally in hotel rooms freaking trading trading and selling like first appearances of Thor, Hulk, a lot of these Golden Age stuff. So it's kind of like the show beyond the show, and we definitely want to talk about that in the future.
Jeff's like, you're giving up my secrets, man. It's a secret sauce.
It's a secret.
There's a lot of secrets in this episode.
No, but that'll be fun to talk about.
That will be very fun to talk about. So we will definitely have you back on soon. But thanks for coming in, man. Thanks for bringing all of these incredible comics for us to show the Variant Nation. Let us know when you can come back on as soon as possible.
I will.
That'd be awesome.
I love it. Thank you, Very Nation, for having me.
So we'll see you guys
Appreciate
next
you.
time when we talk about all things comics.